You're listening to The Extraction, conversations on the systems and strategies behind dental practice growth with Colin Ambler and Kyle Bergman. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Extraction. We have a great episode for you today. My name is Kyle. I'm the co-host, along with the co-host, co-founder, and CEO of TeamCare, Colin Ambler. And today we're joined by Jake Larsen, who's co-founder at Kala. Jake has one of the more interesting and unexpected starts in dentistry. And in this episode, we get into how that journey led him to building what some people now think of as the Robin Hood of dental data software. We talk about why access to data has become such a major issue in dentistry, how custom KPIs can give operators a much clearer picture of what is really happening inside of their practices, and even what Jake actually does all day as a founder building in this space. Jake, welcome to the pod. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. I've met Colin a little bit before, had lunch. Good to meet you, Kyle. Great to be here with you guys.
Yeah, pleasure. So you have a pretty interesting backstory in the world of dentistry, but I'm kind of curious, taking a step before that, how did you find yourself at one of the biggest publicly traded companies in the dental space? And then what was your career like in dentistry once you got there?
Yeah, great question. Fun story. I'll give you the short version, the Cliff Notes version. But I got my start in dentistry at Weave. Weave was a phenomenal ride for a lot of us. Learned a lot there. And how I started at Weave, it was actually called Recall Solutions to begin with. We had a call center where we'd call and schedule overdue patients for dentists. The founder, Brandon, he had a internship listing at our local university that I was attending for someone to come help with marketing. I was the only guy that applied. He posted it like 18 months prior, forgot about it, and then he got this random application from me. And at the time, they were just doing recall stuff. And he was like, "Hey, but we have this idea with these phones." And I was like, "Oh man, that's actually pretty cool." So jumped on board. It was just me, Brandon, and his brother Jared for a while, running recall solutions and building Weave behind the scenes. And then we were fortunate enough to get accepted to Y Combinator. Clint, my co-founder of Kala, joined us as the technical co-founder of Weave. I had no real skills because I was straight out of school at the time, so I wasn't a co-founder of Weave. I get the honorary co-founder title, but it was fantastic. We were there
First in, yeah.
first in,
Keep
right?
going.
Did everything from packing, shipping phones, customer service, moving to our first office. I got the moving truck loaded up, all the things but primarily my time there was spent in sales, go to market, partnerships, strategy, those types of things. I was there for 10 years. It's funny because Clint and I started at Weave within 3 months of each other, and we left Weave within a month of each other. We are both there for like 10 years. We left just before the IPO after they'd replaced Brandon as the CEO and kicked out Jared and stuff. So not the storybook finish completely that we would have hoped for, but it was pretty darn close, and super grateful for it every single day.
Amazing. And so you left Weave and maybe could have ridden off into the sunset, maybe not, but you thought that there were still problems to solve in the dental industry. And so you and Clint connected, it sounds like. So tell us about the starter story of Kala.
Yeah. So Clint left and jumped almost right into Kala just a few months later. He also recruited a good friend of his who was the chief architect at Weave, who built all the integrations. His name's Jason. So they started calling for like a year. Clint was in my ear, like, "Jake, come on, come on, come on." We were having a baby and other things. And so finally I ran out of excuses and joined up with Clint. But no, one of the biggest challenges that you face with any tech startup in dental is access to PMS data. Like when we started at Weave, the only solution out there was Sika, who still exists today. And they wanted like $2 million from us before, like, upfront. We're like, well, that's not an option. So we had to build and maintain and do all integrations in-house at Weave. Because dental was so good to us, we wanted to be able to help other innovative individuals and entrepreneurs to give them an affordable solution so that they could access the data and start to rock and roll and build their technology and help an industry that has historically kind of lagged behind as far as technology goes. So I think that's where a lot of the passion stems from is hopefully giving back, helping others to be able to accelerate their technology, their ideas, and make an affordable solution for people to access data. I mean, once you build access to the data, now lots of things start to happen. You can and that's kind of what's happened at Kala, right? We build the infrastructure to get the data, then we have DSOs reaching out, they want access to theirs. So we started our data warehousing product, which is Kala Sync. Marketing companies want to track ROI. That's where Kala Flow came from. So it's all kind of built on the same backbone of the ability to access data. And that's how we have where we're at today. So we've been doing Kala for 3-ish years now, and it's going great. It's been a fun ride to team up with some ex-Weave people and do it again.
Awesome. And you answered a question, the next question that I had, or you partially answered it, two out of three. So Kala Sync and Kala Flow, you went over what those do. What's the difference between those and Kala Unify? And it would also be cool if you could share some specific case studies or like wins within each of those pillars that our listeners could kind of really contextualize within their own practices.
Yeah, so Kala Unify is kind of the foundation that everything's built on. So Kala Unify is an API product that allows people to access PMS data in a unified schema. So they just have a single API that they need to connect to, regardless of the PMS that they're trying to integrate with. So whether it's Dentrix, EagleSoft, Open Dental, whatever, they get a single API to access data, read and write, to be able to do a plethora of things. I mean, we have customers that are doing AI voice agents all the way down to membership platforms. There's a very wide range of solutions that is supporting for their infrastructure to access data. On the call a sync is a data warehouse. So the same idea of accessing the data, but the customer shifts. It's no longer a vendor that wants access to the data. Now it's a large dental organization that has dozens, if not hundreds of locations. And this data is siloed on a server in every single location. And the executive team is like, what's happening? And Jarvis or Dental Intel is what they've been using. But those cookie cutter reports don't cut it at scale. They need their own custom solution. So they use Call a Sync, where we use our called Unify product, right, to access that data on a nightly basis, clean it up, add additional information layers on top of it. Maybe they want to add their payroll data or their QuickBooks data or marketing data on top of all their PMS data across hundreds of locations to have their own custom solution there. And then Flow is for marketing agencies. They want to be able to see are the leads they're generating turning into revenue. They'll have their CRM that's managing these leads, but they don't know if those leads turn into anything because that data is stored in the PMS. So we connect those. So yeah, really awesome wins across all of those. We have, on the Unify side, we have dozens of AI companies that are crushing it, doing amazing new things for dental, which is super exciting to be a part of, just being the data engine behind it. We have on the Sync product, really large DSOs that have 16 different practice management softwares and all this data that was all over the place, that now they have it in a centralized place, and the executive team and PE groups have access to that like they haven't had before. So yeah, all three of them are going well, all built on that backbone of the.
That's
I think
awesome.
one of the things that you guys are a little bit like Robin Hood in this game because you've been such a low cost entrant into this world. Like a typical license, if you go to Dentrix or $50, $60, upwards of somewhere like that. If you use a Sika, you guys are down in the what, teen or
Yeah,
$20?
read access, we just do it for $19 for read access, and then if you need write access, it's 29. So try to be super affordable. It's kind of the mission behind some of what we're doing is to help those startups with that fundamental piece that they need.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love that. My uncle
I
has
love it too.
well,
Sorry,
no, I just try. My uncle likes to say,
is Uncle Ronnie?
no, it's Uncle Frank. He says, who actually lives in Salt Lake City. He is probably
Does
one
he
of
need
like
dental?
two Jewish guys in the entire state. He says, feed feed the masses and dine with the classes. And so the opportunity to make something affordable and have such high value, that also is probably a huge part of Kala's. Jake, I know you have, are really experienced in go to market. When you have something that is such a great value, it almost customers are selling it for you. Oh, Kala is so great and it's so cheap, not, or cost effective. But Colin, what you were going to say something.
I think that I talk with these guys at a tech level, and I think you guys are like innovators in the way that you've gone about like solving this problem with the decision to like store data or not store data. And for people that don't know out there, it's like when you go to another service, you have to kind of wire up to the entire PMS data. Like in some cases, the way that technology works, you have to consume like just crazy amounts of historical data and store that. And it becomes like very kind of cumbersome to manage that infrastructure. But what you guys have done is interesting because it's really lightweight, and a lot of these AI agents and different products, they just want to like schedule an appointment or they just want to check on one thing and then get it back without having to replicate the entire database and have to deal with HIPAA regulations of storing data and things like that. So I think I talk to tech founder people all the time, and Kala comes up all the time because, like you said, it's such a quick start hack to get their application running and to do it like low cost and also just like low infrastructure overhead. So I think it was really unique what you guys did. I loved it. And I think it's a big disruptor to a lot of the people out there. I mean, I'm sure the Seekas of the world, they hate Kala. You guys are stealing their lunch.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the intention isn't necessarily that, but it is, like it's been a cost center for all the vendors and ultimately gets passed to the dentist, right? Like the vendors got to maintain margins. And so if they got to pay for data access at $60 per location, there's so much cost squeeze on every practice right now. So if we can help just mitigate that a little bit and just benefit the industry and help technology in general as we go, then that's a big win for us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jake, through your podcast and some of the work that you do with a lot of growing organizations, I'm curious if there's one or two metrics or workflows that pop up as like the one or two metrics or workflows that every growing group should really get under control and kind of obsess over first. Anything that kind of rises to the top?
For like the DSOs in particular, or are you talking about for the vendors? So
I think I'm talking about I always kind of think about like, John or Jane Doe, like individual practice owner. So to the extent that you could provide our listeners who are like trying to get out of the chair and use technology and team care and our partners to do that, that's kind of where I was coming from.
gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I think for the individual practices, there's a lot of data solutions out there that are pretty solid, like Jarvis, Dental Intel, right? That are going to have some good practice best practices. I think it's funny where you say KPIs, like key performance indicators, and then they have a dashboard with like 160 different KPIs. Which of these are the key?
Yeah. Yeah.
We did a podcast episode recently with an individual. Her name's Christine Lisenby, I believe. It's been a few months. I can't remember exactly, but that podcast was awesome because they talked about a KPI called True Hygiene Value, which it's not like a standard metric that exists out there. I won't go into the specific details. You guys can go check it out on Dental Disruptor or Dental Operations Unpacked podcast that we do. But basically, the what that was pointing people to is, and I think of it this way, metric, where you're understanding through the hygiene lens, because hygiene is funneling everything else inside of a practice, right? Is what is the true value of every hygiene appointment? And it's calculating any additional revenue that comes post hygiene and tying it back to that hygiene at that hygiene level. And I think that a lot of times practices worry a lot about a lot of things that are downstream, right? And I think the one KPI downstream is collections. Like people got to be better at collections. But at the top of the funnel, like losing focus on how important that hygiene schedule is to feeding everything else and making sure that you have consistent growth at the top of your funnel to feed the rest of it. It's not just a growth metric. It's not just how fast are you growing, but it's feeding everything else beyond that. New patients, how productive is that hygiene motion in your practice? I couldn't stress enough that I think that that's one of the most important metrics to be keeping an eye on closely day in and day out is how healthy is that part of your practice? Because if that fails, you're going to feel that 3 to 6 months later in everything else. And then you're going to be wondering, then now you're behind. That's the leading indicator is everything going on in hygiene. So true hygiene value. I was a big fan of what Christine and her team were doing.
I love that.
What is true hygiene value? How's it manufactured?
You gotta listen to the episode, man.
I
Can't.
gotta listen. I honestly, I don't want to do it. Don't want to do it poor justice. I can't. I don't remember the exact calculation off the top of my head.
Come on, we're gonna make people go to a different podcast to get a little taste of this.
Well, the
Let me look it up.
underlying
Hold on. If
the
I can pull up the source.
Nah, don't worry about it, Jake. I mean, what you said is really validating because we hear it time and time again. You got to fill the funnel. I mean, that's Dr. Sharon Blyler, co-founder of TeamCare. That's like one of her favorite sayings is you got to fill the funnel. And then she does like this thing with her arms where
So
she does like the YMCA pose. And you actually gave me a thought for both of you as like technical leaders. True hygiene is like a bespoke KPI for Christine. And we now live in a world where people have orthotics, people have night guards. Why wouldn't every practice have a customized like North Star metric that is really tailored to all of the nuance that goes into what they're doing? And I'm curious, so to relay this to kind of the work that you're doing, Jake, with DSOs specifically on the sync product, you mentioned that I'm sure DSOs have a strong point of view about the types of reports that they see, but I'm sure some of your DSOs are intelligent in the way that they're like, hey, we know that we know nothing, and we're open to Kala's point of view on like how we should be looking at this stuff. So do you also help them structure the way they should be looking at data?
In some instances, yes. The most successful DSOs that I see have a very clear. They've already kind of gone down that path where they know what their North Star is and they know what data they want and they know why they want it and they're super efficient with that. But in some instances, like I had a 20 location DSO that we've been working with for the past 6 months, and we went through all the work. We had all their data clean, ready to go. They could have measured anything that they wanted. And they were like, well, we don't even know, like, what should we be looking at, right? They'd been so dependent on the cookie cutter reports of Jarvis before that's all that they knew. They didn't even know what the definitions of what the number, like they didn't know the stories that those numbers were telling them. They just kind of used that as the thermometer. Well, hey, this report that I'm always looking at, I don't know what it means, but it's going up or it's going down, so we need to adjust something. But so in some instances, yeah, we actually have to put on our consulting hat a little bit and be like a part of their team. And we have a great team member. Her name's Jordan that's super experienced in this, and she helps with that. But it's very surprising sometimes the lack of understanding that some people will come to the table with as far as what stories the data they're telling or what stories they're wanting to tell with the data. So I've seen it on both sides, but there are some DSOs out there we work with that are just stellar. They say, hey, this is what we want and we want to run with it.
Really interesting. And for those,
So Jake, and I want to ask a question. So like you're like in a non-technical role, right? It's like you're surrounded in this tech space, but you're mostly on the sales side, right? Is that like what's your day to day? I mean, is it mostly in like you feel like enterprise situations where DSO needs custom solution, or is it kind of the co-founder or the founders of these tech companies that need a solution? Like who is the best person that's gonna want to talk to you?
Yeah,
Or who
so
do you like
that's
talking to the most?
yeah, my where I spend the most conversations that I have are actually with startups. You would be amazed with how many AI startups that reach out to us wanting access to the data, which is great. So a lot of conversations there, but the most meaningful conversations that I'm having is existing large vendors that want to do more or maybe are getting squeezed by some of the costs out there. And then the other one is with DSOs. And one of the things that's fascinating on the DSO space with executives is that they historically to stand up a custom data warehousing solution has been really expensive. To do something custom like that, really, really expensive. And there's an educational component to what we're doing as far as content in the market and things like that to just let people know that there's a way more affordable way to do this now through Kala and to unlock. Maybe they haven't thought about what it would be like to not have just the cookie cutter reports. Like, what would it be like if I could take my PMS data, put my financial data with it, put my phone data with it, my marketing data, and what type of insight could I have to help better our organization. So those conversations are really fun because you get to kind of put on a consultative hat and kind of get people to that aha moment that, oh man, I had no idea that I could do this at an affordable cost, that they couldn't do before. So most of my calls are spent in those areas. The most fun ones I would say are with the DSO groups and helping those executives have access to information and insights that they have never been able to get access to before.
Yeah, hey man, I think you guys are huge disruptors in the space, and everybody I talk to that's trying to build a product is going to Kala. So kudos to you guys. You guys are like kind of like dynasty in the space with everything you've done with Weave, and you've kind of lived through so many things. I think you guys have great foresight with the voice, giving the experience, with the integrations, with what the market needs and wants. So we're thrilled that you came on the pod today, friend of the pod, and just kind of talked about your product. I'm sure people, listeners out there, that especially the tech people are going to be giving you a call. So I'm sure Kyle is going to take care of the notes and make sure that happen.
Yeah, definitely check out GetKolla, GetKolla.com if you're interested in using, I guess, what we're calling the Robin Hood of, dental data software. So yeah, Jake, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks guys. And if anybody we're happy to just like help people too. Like if you just have questions about what's going on in the industry, there's a lot going on with dental data right now. And so if anyone just has questions, wants someone that has some expertise, we're more than happy to just help everybody to be successful and serve the dental industry as best we can. So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for letting me come on. Colin, when you're back out here, we'll go to lunch again. We'll make sure Clint brings his wallet next time.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys.
Guys, yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Extraction with Colin Ambler and Kyle Bergman. Read episode notes and transcripts at teamcaredental.com.